So happy Easter, everyone. Welcome to Small Farm Living. My name is Julie, and today we're going to do a few last minute quick crafts for Easter. So let's jump right on into craft number one. Now, this first craft, I found this really cute little box at my local thrift store. I'm going to be using the inside here as a frame for some pictures that I'm going to do, and the outside isn't going to matter because it's going to be the back. So let me show you what we're going to do. Now, these pictures I ripped out of a magazine that I found at the same local thrift store, and I love to scour for books and magazines and things that I can use in crafting. And I want to take these spring scenes and make them a background. So what I'm going to do is take one of my little boxes, and I liked the one with the inner lip on it that fit into the other box because it is a little bit smaller. I'm going to trace around that with my pencil just to get the basic shape on there. I'm going to do the same thing on my other picture. And I wanted to get a little bit of the lake scene in this one because what I want for these little pictures that I'm going to be making, or these little scenes, is for it to look like the outdoors. And I haven't mentioned yet, but these are kind of simple little fun crafts that I'm doing for my granddaughter. She's really getting into Easter and imagination things. And so I thought these would be fun for her. So I knew these would be a little bit big and I'd have to trim them down a little bit. So you can see how many pieces I've got there. And once it fit in the box side to side, I just tucked it down in there and scored it with my fingernail and then bent it over so I could see my line more precisely. And then I was able to cut that piece off, and then it fit perfectly inside my box. That was the one with the lake scene, and the other one is I'm just taking the tree with a little bit of the church building in the back, and I did the same thing with that one, got it all fit into there. And now I'm just simply going to take some Mod Podge and I'm going to put a light coat all over the back of this. And with this method, I'm going to be doing it wet because I can't really fit my little iron in there. So I just took this little tool that I got at the Dollar Tree. I think it's made for a Cricut, and I'm just making sure that I don't have any excess glue tucked behind in there. And this is thicker paper, so that tool didn't hurt it at all. Now, I would definitely not use that on a napkin. And I'm going to do the same thing with my other scene. Get the excess glue out, and then I'm going to proceed to put another light layer of Mod Podge over the top. And then I am going to take these into the bathroom, give them a blow with my hair dryer just to get them dry. So here we go. They are all dry. I got these little bunnies in a 4-pack, as well as these eggs. There was more than 4 in the pack of the eggs, but I got those at Hobby Lobby. And then just some of my random scraps of greenery that I like to use all the time. And I'm going to take these little bunnies. There was 2 boys and 2 girls in the package, and I'm going to put 1 boy and 1 girl on each one of these scenes. Now, what I want this to look like, or the vibe that I'm going for, is just to look like a fun little scene where these bunnies are hiding Easter eggs outside for my granddaughter to go find. So this little girl, for some reason, she had a little wonky thing on the bottom of her feet, so it took me a little bit to get her to sit the way I wanted to. But I just grabbed some of my greenery. Now, this one I slipped back behind her because I thought, I probably should have put a few pieces of greenery on here before I put the bunnies on. And we did that with the second box, but I just proceeded to glue down little pieces here and there. And then as soon as I got a few of those on, I decided I'd put the eggs on. And I put 3 eggs, one on one corner. And then I put one in the other corner. And I'm just using hot glue on these. Again, I don't think she'll try to take these apart, so we'll have to just tell her she has to look with her eyes and imagine. But this yellow one's going to go right in the center, and then I am going to put a little bit more greenery around those so they look like they're actually hiding in the grass. And it's really hard with these little tiny pieces because the glue is hot, the surface is tiny, and the glue kind of melts a little bit of that plastic or makes it shrink. So it was just a slow and steady, and I know I say it all the time, but I always forget to grab my little pink silicone fingers to protect them. But actually it does make it kind of wonky when you're in a delicate little space like this, so it might not have worked anyway. But I'm just going to do the same thing on this second scene. I'm going to glue in my little boy and girl bunny, put on my 3 little eggs, and then make sure those are hidden a little bit with some more greenery. Here's what they looked like in the end. So I'll show you. I am going to put this little towering tumbling block that I just got a package of at the Dollar Tree. I'm going to glue them onto the basically front side of the box, but the back side of the picture here so that they can stand up straight and don't fall over. That was all good. I'll do the same thing to that one. And here is the reveal on this one. Let me know what you think. I think they turned out super, super sweet. And I can just imagine being, 3.5 years old and looking at this scene and imagining going and finding Easter eggs and that the bunnies actually hid them. So now we're going to move on to craft number 2. And this one also is for my granddaughter. That's kind of the theme of this crafting session for me. I found this at the Dollar Tree. I really liked it because it's kind of scrolly and it kind of reminds me of, I don't know, just fairy tale princessy vibes. And she's kind of getting into that. And I wanted to paint this white. And once I started painting this, I'm like, okay, this craft is actually really easy, but this part is so tedious because I had to get in between all of those little nooks and crannies to paint it white so it didn't look awful. And this part of the craft absolutely took me the longest. I was wondering if I should have chosen a different frame, but again, because it's just kind of a magical looking frame, especially for a little girl that young, I just bit the bullet and I went ahead and gave it 2 coats. We're going to set that aside, and then I just went into the recycling bin, grabbed this cracker box because it was nice and bright and white, and I figured I could use that for the back. Now this is still wet, but I wanted to make sure the piece of cardboard that I cut out was big enough to fit in that frame. And then these little napkins we got at the Dollar Tree, and we always get her special napkins for every holiday because she loves fun napkins. So she doesn't know it yet, but this is going to be what she gets for Easter for her dinner, is this cute little napkin, not to eat, but to use for her napkin. And I just thought these chicks were so precious. And these actually are 1-ply napkins, so I didn't even have to peel any backing off of them. And you get 4 on 1 napkin. But of course, we just need one sweet little chick for this picture, so we are going to just cut out our little chickie. And then you have 3 more to use for something else. So we'll set those aside, and then for this picture, I wanted to see before I started taking excess pieces off of this napkin how the frame was going to fit around the chick. I didn't like it straight. It cut off too much of the chick's character, so I thought let's do it at a diagonal so I can get more of the feet in there and the arms and a little bit of her hair. And I'm just going to again put a light layer of Mod Podge over this cardboard, set it aside and let it dry. And while that is drying, I am going to take my little tiny paintbrush with some water, kind of score around the whole edges to remove some of this excess white. Even though there is a decorative edge to this napkin, I really wanted to remove as much of it as possible. And then I just gently with my fingers tore off the extra pieces. And then in the delicate part down by the feet, it was getting kind of hard, so I just used the end of a pencil eraser, and that seemed to work really well. So now I'm left with this cute little shaggy chick. So now I'm just going to size up my chick before I actually iron him on, just to make sure he's where I want them to be. And putting my parchment paper down, my little iron, I had it good and hot and ready, and not boring you with the whole process, but I just worked him over until he was good and stuck on there. Look how cute he looks. I love fat little birds. I know they're not really fat, they just fluff their feathers, but I just think they are so adorable. So now we are going to position the frame on here again so that I have it exactly where I want it. I'm going to score it because I need to cut off the excess cardboard, and I just scored in between those little pieces the best I could, and it was kind of hard to see. I just held it towards the light and I could see the score lines that I made so that I could cut the chick out so it fit perfectly behind the actual space that it could take up on the back of the frame. And then I set it on the back, and I decided I would tape the edges that I wasn't hot gluing down first because I didn't want them to move. So once I got all the tape on there and got those secured, then I grabbed my hot glue gun and I glued the first edge down. And then once I got the first edge down, I was able to remove the tape and glue the rest of it down. And that is what it looked like when I turned it over. And then I noticed, I'm like, what in the heck got on my chick? It's some kind of brown, I don't even know what it was, but I'm like, darn it, I'm gonna have to think of something to do to cover that up. Now these little, I don't even know what they are. They're like little crystally gem things. And I found them at the thrift store. Of course, that's where I find most of my crafting supplies. And I thought I want to just doll up this frame a little bit with these gems. So I'm taking my tweezers and picking these up. They are very tiny. And I am just going to put these all around the frame just to dress it up and make it cute and girly so it's not just a plain white frame. You can see I'm working my way. I've almost got them all on here. This was a little tedious too, but it was kind of fun because with each little one that I put on there, it just made the frame even sweeter. So now that I have all those on there, I found also, of course, oh, I'm going to finish this little side here too. And now that that is done, I'm going to try and cover that up. And I have this sweet, sweet little bias tape, I guess you would call it. And I got it at the thrift store, of course. And I don't even know if they make this anymore. If they do, let me know if you know where to buy it because I love it. And I would love to have some more, maybe in different colors. So I'm going to make a little cute pink belly band for my little Easter chick to cover up whatever I got on there. And of course, my granddaughter thought it looked absolutely adorable when she saw it. She loved it. So it worked out that I got something on there and I had to go to plan B. So I'm just going to finish gluing this side down here. And because this type of a thing likes to fray at the ends, I'm like, no, I'm not going to cut that because there's not enough room. So I just put another little daub of glue at the very end. And then very carefully, I took my fingers and I just tucked those loose ends onto the hot glue and pushed them in so they stayed right where they were supposed to, and you would have never known. And now it has this cute little belly band. So the last thing that we need to do for this little Easter chick is give it a hanger. And I thought maybe the sides, but probably more just in the center since it's like a diagonal, and it would hang better if I did that. So I have just this white cotton twine, and that's what I'm going to use to hang this up. Now I pulled off a piece and gave it a cut so it was long enough for my project. With my bad scissors, I need to get some new ones. And then these little beads I got at the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to use some of these in the hanger. Now her favorite color is yellow, and this bead is a little more kind of a greenish tone, but that's okay. I don't think she'll even notice. I'm going to tie a couple of knots at the base, cut the ends off flush, and then I always like to take a piece of tape whenever I'm stringing string or anything else or yarn through small holes because it gives it a nice solid end, kind of like a shoelace, and it works so much better. So what I'm going to do is kind of do a little slip knot to leave a little bit of rope between the picture frame and where my beads are going to start. And I'm going to put my 3 beads on. And then once I get my 3 beads on, my camera shut off because I had used up all my storage space. But this is what it ended up looking like. I thought it turned out really precious. I think those little pink gem dots or whatever they are really added to the picture frame. Now, my granddaughter saw this and instantly had to hang it in her room. So once I got this little video taken, it was in her room. So let me know what you think. I think it turned out pretty sweet. So now we're going to go on to craft number 3 and our last craft for this video. Now I found this at the Dollar Tree. It said Hope, and I've had it in my stash for a while, and I thought, oh my goodness, we could turn this into Hop and put something over the E. So what I'm going to do is just cut this and deconstruct it because I am going to use these beads instead of the brown ones that are on here just to make it more Eastery. So I'll clip that apart. I will pull everything off of here, and I will set the jute twine aside for another project as well as the little brown beads. Now the HOP, they are going to stay just as they are, and the E, I decided I'm going to cover it with a little bunny. Now this bunny I had cut out for a different project and didn't end up using it. I thought maybe it would work for this one, but because I had cut the ears out and around the back too much of the paper was missing, that it didn't cover the whole piece of wood. So this other scrap piece that I had, I cut out, and then I went and got a bigger piece of my scrap, and I am just going to trace around this bunny so that the whole portion of the wood is covered by the paper and I don't have to worry about it. So once I got those traced out, I cut them out, and then I'm not going to bore you with the whole thing, but I'm going to Mod Podge it, and then any excess that was hanging over, I'm going to use my finger sander and sand off the edges. And then again, I'm going to tape the end of this string so that it goes through all of the holes of my project. And then the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start with a couple of beads up at the top. And I decided that I would put 3 at the very top of the hanger. And I was just kind of randomly choosing. I didn't really have any kind of thought process as to what colors I was going to put where. And then after I got my first 3 on, I needed to put my H on. And because the string is so soft and you can't really shove it all the way down through that long portion of the wood, I just took one of my barbecue skewers that I always have handy and got a hold of the tape end and just shoved it right through, and it worked like a charm. So I put on my H, and then I put on a bead, then I put on my O, and put on another bead. And I just repeated this whole process until I got the words on, and then put on another bead and put on my cute little bunny. And the cute thing about this bunny is there's 2 different bunnies, so depending on which way you hang it, this is a 2-sided sign. So if it twists or turns, it all works out. So I did a couple of knots at the end of the beads so that they didn't come off. I cut off the excess string, and then what I wanted to do was wrap, and I didn't count how many times I wrapped. I just started wrapping 3 fingers worth of this white string so that I could make a little fringe at the bottom. And then I took the end piece of my twine for my hanging, cinched it right up to the beads, and then I proceeded to tie a knot around there several times so that it was secured and snug right up to those beads. And once I got that done, I cut the bottom loops so that I had a little fringe at the base of my sign. And then I tidied up all the loose ends, and then at the top I flipped it over and I did the same thing. I tied a couple of knots at the top of the beads so they didn't move. Then I wrapped the string down to make a loop and did a little slip knot there. And then I pushed the knot all the way down to the top of the beads, still keeping both pieces of string so that I kept my loop there. And then now I have a cute little hanger for the top of my sign. I thought it turned out pretty cute. So I took it outside because the lighting in the house was not super great, and it was bright enough outside you could really see it. So I just thought this was really fun, taking a little hope sign and turning it into an Easter sign. And then I got to use my cute little bunny paper again with the fringe. So I was pretty pleased with how this one turned out as well. This one is hanging in the house for her to enjoy, but she loves it just as much too. So let me know what you think of that. Now we are going to do our final reveal. And again, I am just going to show you the same reveal as after the craft because, like I said, she already has this hanging in her room. Very thrilled with it, which I love as a grandma. She's going to be so much fun to craft with when she gets a little bit older and can do a few more things. But let me know again what you thought of this one. And here is the reveal on the other 2. Now, sorry, the hop sign is swinging a little bit. I always tend to bump things that are hanging and put them in motion when I'm trying to film them. But let me know, do you guys like to craft for your grandkids, or do you craft with your grandkids? I just think it's so much fun creating little magical scenes for them, like these little frames. I thought it was a fun little way to use those little bunnies from Hobby Lobby too. So anyway, that's just the final wrap up. I hope you guys all have a wonderful, peaceful Easter. Thanks for hanging out with me. I'll see you next time.